Hello, I'm Leah Howard, and welcome to the informational video for Touch Too Much, the third book in the Touch of Grey series. It follows book 1, Out of Touch, and book 2, Invisible Touch, as well as an offshoot series set in the world of Touch of Grey. All prior published books have informational videos available on my YouTube channel, and I'll have some links at the end of this video. First off, let's discuss where we left off with Grey and Invisible Touch, the end of this second book. The two detectives that Grey most often worked with, which were Sully and Tamez, they've since been promoted to sergeants, and they're, along with Sheriff Helke, they're overseeing the Sycept police unit. And all three of them are wanting to kind of reorganize how the Sycept police unit is. Because Grey has done projects before for the police unit, they've asked her to kind of take this on and help to oversee the entire project. And they did that at the end of Invisible Touch. In Out of Touch, the first book of the series, Sheriff Helke challenged Grey to increase her participation in the greater Sycept community at Albuquerque, where she lives. So the results of that is Grey founded an organization called PAPA, the Sci-Town Albuquerque Police Sycept Association. And she also ran for the Sycept Council, and she actually won election to be a representative on that council. So that was at the very end of Invisible Touch. Another thing that happened is Director Lowell, he tasked Grey to develop a mixer of the civilian support services of Sycept. What they do is package delivery, and they maintain like the database that all the cases that Grey handles are funneled through. And they help with customer service and just their support personnel. So they don't work directly as detectives or police officers, but they do work with Sycept. So Director Lowell asked Grey to come up with a mixer. So we'll kind of see where we're at on that. And then finally, Grey's siblings visited her in Albuquerque, and they decided to permanently move to the GT. So the GT is the Greater Tribal Council of the Americas, and so that's the country that Grey lives in. And she's originally from the United States, and her siblings have stayed in the United States, but some things had been going on in the U.S. that made them a little bit wary about returning to the U.S., so they decided to stay in the GT, and now they are in Council Bluffs, which is in the Southern Plains Conservatorship. So while they are in the same country as Grey now, they're not in the same conservatorship or the territory, so they're in a different one, and they're up in Council Bluffs, which is a Sycept community in Southern Plains. So we get a little bit of an update on her siblings, but this is kind of to tease an upcoming book. We will see them again in an offshoot book that's coming out at the end of this year. It's called Blood Song, so we'll kind of see how her siblings are doing up in Council Bluffs. But for now, we'll focus on what Grey's getting up to in Touch Too Much. So 6 weeks have passed since the events of Invisible Touch, and it's the new year, and Grey, as part of the council, is helping to set up and welcome the new Sycept residents. There's a large group, and it's been a while since a large group has relocated to Albuquerque. So Grey is part of the welcoming committee, and on the first day, the arrival day, an event occurs, and Grey must work with others, including other Sycepts and police and military, to kind of handle the event. And that kind of whole process takes place within the first third of the book. And in the midst of this, she's also handling the projects that Sheriff Helke and Director Lowell have given her. So the reorganization of the Sycept police unit, they are now a full division, and there's some added personnel. So they're getting another sergeant, a third sergeant, and they're also getting a lieutenant. And all of this is being set up, and so they're really beefing up the police presence in Albuquerque, and Grey is helping with that. And then for the mixer, Grey coined it the Shindig as a one-off, and it's kind of taken wings, and so everybody's referring to it as a Shindig. It's now kind of blown up into a full-on convention, so she's having to deal with programming, she's having to deal with exhibits, vendors. they're gonna have a fair, all of this stuff. And Gray's kind of like, what did you saddle me with? But she's handling it, so there's that. And then we also get expanded roles. Wendy is also a Psi Council member. So Wendy actually had her own book that came out in December of 2019, and it was called Wild and Wicked Ways. And it kind of goes into more of Wendy's abilities as a Psi Witch. So we kind of get to know Wendy with that. But she also serves a larger role within Touch Too Much as well. She's a fellow council member, and it's pretty funny, some of the council stuff that they're getting up to. Not only in this book, but in the next Touch of Grey book as well. We have the new characters that were introduced in Invisible Touch, namely Brother Bone and the Sisters Weird. Brother Bone is Tico, and the sisters are Libby, Vic, and Jay, and they're the McGilvery siblings, and they are a Bone Sage and Blood Sages, so they have a larger role in Touch Too Much as well. Sheriff Helke and the PPD, the Psycept Police Division, they're going to have, of course, a much larger role just because of what Ray is working on project-wise with them, as well as the events that happened in the first third to a quarter of the book, and how involved the police were with Gray helping to handle that event. And then Papa, Gray is continuing on with Papa, and so we get some updates through that. And then also, as stated earlier, the Psi Council, so we're actually going to have to suffer through, just like Gray and Wendy, we're going to have to suffer through a Psi Council meeting. And I think it's pretty funny how kind of pedantic it is, and Gray is, she just can't believe this is her life, but it is kind of like reference, kind of like Parks and Rec or Gilmore Girls, kind of that lighthearted take on municipal government and the stuff that you're asked to do. With these vague teases as to what's happening in Touch Too Much, I hope you enjoy the book, and the links to purchase the book are in the video description, as well as links to my website. And the links to the other videos, at least 2 of them, will be at the end of this video. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy.